Hey everybody, welcome back. Just a few words on intentional communities. Intentional prepper communities. That is the idea of a bunch of people come together with the intention of forming a particular type of community. In this discussion, obviously a prepper community, so that they can operate in a like-minded fashion, work together, do things together, everybody's on the same page. And we talked about this before in regards to if it's a very religiously oriented community, because you can get into a lot of trouble there.
We did talk about it because they have the intentional community called the Ark Haven.
Yeah.
And it's not just so much the religious aspect that's a problem. You coming into these communities and they're set up, and I like the concept and I like the idea.
Yeah.
It's set up to be like a family unit, and we all coming together as like-minded people to help in trouble and outside of trouble.
And help the community to develop and grow and work together for common goals within the community.
Yeah. And we talked about that, and we talked about Ark Haven, but now we want to discuss, just what are people's intention going into these intentional communities.
Yeah, because there can be a lot of problems. I mean, a lot of people, they have the prepper mindset, but not necessarily the skills. A lot of preppers are people that just own stuff, but they want more. But in wanting more, are they able to, or in many cases even willing to contribute more? Because when you think of it, a good example of an intentional community that works is like the Amish. They all have a common goal. They all work together. They all do things together. If somebody needs something, the entire community comes together to see to it that it gets done. Example, a young couple gets married. Something that's traditional is they all come together and they do the barn building. Okay, you're going to need a new barn. Everybody comes out. The whole town comes out. People may even come from neighboring towns to help them put up the barn, do the barn raising, lay out the land for them. Everything gets done. However, these are people that are born into that mindset. They grow up in that area. To them, that is normal. That is something that everybody does. Everybody just contributes. They're happy with it. They like the idea. It's part of their lifestyle. So they don't feel like anything is owed to them. In the Western world, and in many other aspects of the world, if you will, but primarily we're in the Western world here, everybody feels like something's owed to them. If I do this, you got to do that. It's expected. Or they want you to do a lot for them and they don't give anything back. That mindset has to be trained or enforced in a lot of cases. And are you prepared for that concept where you're going to walk into a community and they're going to be like, hey Jack, you need to do this, and you're like, I don't want to do that, or I don't have to do that, or I don't know how to do that. And in a true intentional community, you can't really get away with that.
Well, another thing, you got people that say, okay, I want to be a prepper. I'm going to join this community for the protection, and I want my kids raised up, and I want them to be in a homeschool, and this is a community of homeschool. I want to have clean eating, and this is a community of clean eating. And you come in there and you have some stuff, and you say, okay, this is the stuff I have, some canned goods, some blankets, and you can put it in a community pool, but then you don't do nothing else. You depend on the community to carry you all the way through with no intention of learning anything, no intention of really contributing anything. You just live.
Or having resentment if you do. You feel like, they're making me do this again. I'm sick of this. or whatever, and then you really just become a burden on that community.
Yeah. And you got the two extremes. You got the one end, the guy that wants to do nothing. He just want to be in the community for the protection. Or just say, I want to hide out and I'm going to hide amongst these people.
Yeah.
Or the one that knows, he's an expert on 3-4 things and knows a lot about 5 other things. And then he hoards that information and lords it over you that he's the expert.
And you see that in all walks of life. Anybody ever known someone like that on the job? I've experienced that many times. Even especially in management, they don't want you to know anything because they don't want to feel like they're expendable.
Yeah, they always talk about teams. Oh, we got to work together as a team.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to share the information that you need to make your team successful.
There's no I in team, but there's no you in it either.
There's an I, is a me.
Yeah, there's a me in team, that's right. But I've experienced that, especially in management, even in when I worked for Frito-Lay. And I wasn't management, but I was skilled labor. I was a skilled processor. And there were other skilled processors, and you'd have people between shifts trying to sabotage each other. There was one guy who was notorious for it from third shift. He had been there like 28 years or something. And everything would run smooth, and then he'd make this little adjustment here, a little adjustment there, just before the shift change, and the whole thing would go to shit. And then he could sit there and be like, well, nothing went wrong when I was running it. Yeah, that's because while you were running it, you didn't turn the oven up 120 degrees and burn everything up, or leave a valve open. He did that to this one guy who took over in his station. Poor Mike. Because I came and warned him. I knew who this guy was, and I was like, hey, listen, you better check all of your stats before, don't get too comfortable, because he likes to make adjustments just before a shift comes in. And he didn't check the valves. And when the corn hopper shifted over, because they'd have like 10 corn hoppers with like 2,000 pounds of wet corn. And when it swapped hoppers, it all dumped on the floor. And so spent the next couple of hours helping him shovel it up. People will sabotage you. People will withhold information. People will rely too heavily on someone and piss them off. You have these communities, I've seen this, where they're like, oh, we got a guy who's an electrician, and we got a guy who's a plumber, and we got a guy who's a carpenter. You have a guy. All right, what happens when that guy isn't available, or gets overwhelmed, or starts bartering for his compensation because he knows he's the only guy? If you're going to have a properly functioning intentional community, you're going to have more than just one person who really knows what they're doing in a specific area. And there has to be some kind of an apprenticeship program, somebody that can be under them that's interested in whatever they're doing, that can learn as they go, just in case. You know, you can't just have a nurse or a dentist, if you follow my meaning. There's a lot of that goes on in these things.
Yeah, and you have people that say, okay, I want my family to be a part of this community. We don't know anything. And you come in and you say, we don't know anything, but if you attach us to somebody, we'll learn it.
Yeah.
We'll learn what we have to learn. We'll do what we have to do. We'll get our hands dirty. Just so we can contribute and be an active member of this community. But everybody is not that way.
Yeah, most people are not that way. Most people are selfish and arrogant and greedy. We are not Smurfs. The Smurfs is an intentional community, but it works because everybody cooperates, and they have a functional leader who actually cares about what's going on. He's not greedy or selfish. And that's another problem too, is who is the leadership? Is there leadership? What are the rules? Or at least a set of rules, some kind of council. I don't recommend having a single person that's completely in charge, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, as the saying goes. Oh, he's happy.
Yes. No,
But you get the one guy who's sitting on top of the heap and is in charge of everything and can get their fingers into everything like a little micro government. It can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And then you want to get the hell out of there, and it may not be so easy. And I think we did a video on that some time ago. It may not be that easy to get out of there.
Yeah, we did do a video on that. So, I mean, intentional communities, I think they can work if you go in there with the expectation of contributing, and they have rules and you're willing to follow it.
Yeah.
And you don't come in there, you leave all of your ideals behind, because you can't live in these communities and you got the idea of you don't like your neighbors, so don't bother me, and the rule is we're gonna build a barn when a new family comes in, when a couple gets married, but I'm not gonna help the Williams family because I don't like their son. You know, and we have that attitude, and you have
People
your
do
neighbor
that.
now. You know, you don't like your neighbor because their trash always blows into your yard and they never pick it up, or they don't cut their grass, or you know, their dog barks all night long and you wouldn't lift a finger to help them. And that attitude in that type of community,
It won't work.
has to go.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be willing to change your attitude, your heart, your perspective, and everything.
Yeah. Because it is a lifestyle choice, really. And what you think the lifestyle is and how it actually looks may not be the same thing. And it's not easy. It's not easy to find or form a group like that. It really isn't. And if you, there are a few groups out there, but you've got to really be selective. You've got to really study it and really be careful. And, you know, it's come up in the comment section many times. I'm not going to throw the name out there, but a lot of people warning about having been part of a particular group where it's the king's roost. If when you go there, all your property becomes his property, and when you leave, you're lucky to leave with a shirt on your back if you decide you don't want to be there anymore. You've got to watch out for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can understand pooling resources, but that doesn't mean that everything should be taken from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I believe in the community pool that, okay, monthly you have to contribute to the community pool.
Yeah.
You know, you go out and buy groceries and you say, okay, I'm going to buy some extra toilet paper to put in the community pool or
Sure.
something. But then you can't be the family that lives on the community pool. You never contribute. You know, you don't go to work or anything, and you just live on the community pool. That's not gonna work or happen. You know, that shouldn't happen, and it's not gonna work because you're just mooching. And you know, we got people now on welfare that mooch off of the system. And you think about those people and how they drain society, and then think about an intentional community, and are you going to be that draining power that goes into the community with no intentions of contributing?
because in open society, you can fade into the background. People don't know who you are. But in an intentional community, everybody's going to know who you are.
And they're going to know if you contribute or not. And it's all right if you say, okay, for some odd reason I can't work, but I am a trained and not licensed, but I'm a school teacher.
Okay.
Or a music teacher. I'll teach all of your kids and whoever want to music. And they say, okay, that's a happy medium. We can do that. Or I'm a fitness instructor. I'll keep the community fit. I'll make nutrition plans, exercise plans, and I'll do an exercise class for kids, women, pregnant women, older people, all of the stuff like that. I can contribute. And they say, okay, we can go with that. That's a happy medium. That's one thing, because you are contributing. But if you say, I'm going to just sit in my house and watch Dark Shadows all day, then, you know, it's like, no. That's not a happy medium.
Don't go in there expecting only to receive.
Yeah. give. Go in there expecting to give and give a lot.
And it may not be for you. You know, it may not be for you, and that's fine. You know, is the intentional community a good idea? It's a good idea, but everything is a good idea.
Yeah, in somebody else's head.
Actually putting it into practice is another aspect altogether. And it takes, again, a special mindset, reverting back to what I was talking about with the Amish. They're raised into it. For them, that is normal. For anyone else, it isn't. You know, society teaches you to be greedy and selfish and jealous, and to put on a production for everything, and to expect everything, and you deserve everything. And it's not really quite how the real world works. It's not how it was designed to work. But, you know, that's just another example of man going against nature, which is unfortunately very common.
Yeah, and don't depend on someone else for your ultimate survival.
Yeah.
And that's important too. A lot of people, they might say, okay, we're going to join this community because if something go down, we can depend on these people to survive. And, you know, that's the wrong idea, depending on anyone, except for your spouse. You're married, your spouse is supposed to be there. You're supposed to expect them to be there for you, and like they say in the vows, marriage, the sickness and health and all of that.
Yeah, you're supposed to be as one.
Yeah, you're supposed to expect them and depend on them to provide and be there for you in the capacity that they can, but not some total stranger. So.
And no matter how close you are to that person, they could end up being a stranger when push comes to shove.
Yeah.
So
things come out and stuff hit the fan.
True. That's the true test of someone's mettle. But, you know, just a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to ponder as the idea of that sort of thing gets more popular in the prepping communities, because there's a lot of people want to be the lone wolf, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, you can't survive as the lone wolf. But people have survived as the lone wolf. It really depends on the individual and what it is that they're looking for. So, you know, just throw it out there. Hey, if you have any thoughts on the subject, feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. Share it if you can, probably the only way it will get seen. The channel takes a beating from ScrewTube. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of the other videos. If you have not, you might find something interesting. We hope you do. If you saw some random cat or dog images, they're animals that we take care of, strays that we pick up, but we put the images in there because it actually helps with the loading algorithm. It's a trick that was passed on to me by one of the viewers. If you wanted to help the channel out, there are links for that down below. Every little bit helps, and we sure do appreciate it. And if that's it, then what more can I say? But stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.